All right, guys, I'm excited for this. So this is going to be the little book summary for The Seat of the Soul. So I am going to split this up into two videos. The more that I was reading this, and I take so many notes, and like there's so much that kind of moves in my brain when I'm reading, that I was like, this is going to be like the longest video ever. So I'm like, why don't I just do two like I did the last time? So I will probably upload this. I'm debating if I'm going to do the second one, part 2, within the same month, or if this will be on the next month, so we will see. I feel like I will probably do it this month just to give extra content, because I feel like this second part of the book is very more in depth with a little bit deeper wisdom and things like that. So to begin with, so there are 4 parts within this book. There's the introduction, the creation, responsibility, and power. So this video will be the introduction, which we're just going to talk about like the soul, the personality, incarnation, karma, the heart, intuition, light, and intention. And then the next video we'll talk more about, which what I'm assuming will be more of that human experience, the choices, the relationships, psychology, illusion, power, things like that. So I love this book because I feel like this book gives so much insight into our incarnation as the human experience. So it's almost like making sense of mind, body, spirit, making sense of how the personality influences in there, how it plays a part in there, and sort of just a deeper understanding of how we pick up and understand our spirituality, which to me just feels like who we are, and our human side, and kind of how to maneuver and move through that. So I feel like there's a lot of really good gold nuggets in this. I've read this book a few times, but this time is really hitting me in a different way because of where I'm at on my journey. So I'm very grateful to be reading it again. So thank you everyone for holding space and for being here to listen. So a few things right off the bat with this, when he was talking about personality and when he was talking about the soul and when the soul incarnates. And this is where it really, I really love this, because I remember him saying like, there's this full, like, let's say consciousness, right? We have this like full, well-rounded conscious energy, unconditional love. And that part kind of, I think he compares it to like a pitcher of water and then pouring out like, say, a drop into a cup, and that drop is our experience right now. So it's like the pitcher of water is consciousness, and when he pours the drop into the cup, that is the personality of that soul in the human experience. So it's like when we have this divine consciousness and we have this expansion of consciousness, we are deciding, consciousness is deciding what parts of us are ready to be healed, are ready to be understood, are ready to be expressed, are ready to expand. Because I almost, even using the word healing doesn't resonate as much as it did with me before, because it's almost like returning back to, it's like strengthening. The healing to me feels more like strengthening. So it's like we're strengthening these parts of us that maybe might not seem as strong or might not be as understood as other parts of us. And I feel like when the soul incarnates, when a piece of that consciousness incarnates into this meat suit, right? Into this human part, into this expression is Angelica Grace. My personality is serving up characteristics, and it's bringing into my awareness situations and opportunities for me to dive into these parts of me that are ready to be strengthened. So that's when we have, like, say, part of our personality, like our strengths are, talking, and our personality, we're very bubbly and very outgoing and all of this. And maybe some of our weakness is spending time alone. So in our, human experience, we have opportunities that keep coming up that help us understand and strengthen how we can feel more at home when we are alone. So maybe we are more external, and part of our soul's expansion is to be comfortable internally. So that's where I feel like this seat of the soul really comes in with the personality, because I think the personality is such a huge, and something they're even bringing into me now, into the awareness, is like our horoscope, because our horoscope really, like when we decide to incarnate, and our horoscope really tying it into this, our horoscope is giving us an insight into, like, think of it as like a blueprint into our characteristics and into what our strengths are, and I don't even want to say weaknesses, but I feel like it helps bring our awareness around it. So I think when we are moving through these opportunities to learn and through these opportunities to strengthen within us, I think a horoscope might even be, looking at our characteristics and looking at our natal chart and looking at all these things to really dive into, okay, well, what did we really bring with us when we incarnated? So that might be something to look at too. So we will just kind of get into it. I have my notes here. I have some paper, so I'm just kind of, bear with me. I'm just going to kind of go through and just kind of read, because he starts out talking about the 5 sensory human versus, I think he calls it the multi-sensory human. And the way that I distinguished the difference between this is, like, the 5 sensory is like the ego part of us, like the ego's perspective of just like needing things outside of us, and searching for our fulfillment outside of us. So then we lose sight with our, of what our intuition brings into us. We lose sight of that internal pull, and we get further and further away from it. So when I think of the 5 sensory, I think of who I was, before my divorce, before I was really conscious and aware of what my heart wanted, what my heart even meant, what my heart even brought to me. It was like I was so up in my head and so up in the illusion of the external measurement that I didn't know how to measure who I was or what I wanted, or this deep soulful part of myself I suppressed for a really long time. Now, when I go into the multisensory, I think of probably everyone in this group. I'm definitely assuming, because when I was reading, I'm like, oh, this is the group. It's like it's the people that are conscious of commitment to our self, to our soul, to our body and our minds, but also aware of the power of confronting ourselves over and over and over again to be the clearest form of divine consciousness as possible. And I think that we chose that as part of this incarnation, right? We chose to begin to awaken, and and we all chose at different parts of our life. Some of us are, younger or older, which isn't even real, so I don't even want to use that measurement. But one thing that they're saying now too is, like, it's so divinely led and so divinely guided that there's no such thing as it happening too late or too early in your life. When we begin to open up as the multisensory human or experience, we are awakening our divineness. And I think when we do that, we are getting so in touch with our personality and so in touch with our soul and our bodies that we learn this multidimensional and full, well-rounded experience of why we're here and what we offer to serve humanity and serve consciousness. And I feel like that's what I take away from this book, is like the roadmap back into who we are, to understand this depth that we have to offer, that I think, again, for a long time, I didn't realize was within me. And I think some of us are awakening to it, and I think some of us are even deepening it, because it's never ending. It's onion layer after onion layer, and it's so beautiful, and it's so painful, and it's like such an evolution and such a journey. The one thing that they are pointing out is the journey of it is the important part. It's not the destination, because the destination is the same for everyone. We go back and we do it again, and simultaneously we're doing this how many times and how many lives. So it's like the important part is the journey. And I'm having an aha moment right now, so thank you for holding space for me. But I think we very easily lose sight of the journey because we think that we need to get to the finish line. And a lesson that has been coming in for me is if we focus so much on where we need to be, we lose sight of where we are, and we lose sight of the contentment and the happiness and the love that we have and are experiencing at this moment. And if we weren't and aren't grateful and appreciative of where we are at this moment with all the people in our lives and in this phase, why would we be content and happy when we're at the finish line? Because remember, however we're feeling in here is going to be reflected. So even if we're in this discomfort and we're in this uncertainty, we don't know where we're going, we don't know what the path exactly is, if we tune our frequency to contentment, joy, and contentment, I mean as in like a peaceful serenity, that surrender where you're just kind of like, we're good, like we're right where we're supposed to be. And if we have gratitude for that and we open our hearts to that space, that where then we continuously go and end up will always be that content, serenity, peace, gratitude, unconditional love. So it's like, if we're not happy with where this is, why would we be happy with the finish line, right? Okay, so 5 sensory human, not recognizing the soul, it's more external validation. The perspective of the soul is incarnations. Yeah, so this is what was interesting was incarnations happening simultaneously at one time, all chosen personalities experiencing life at one time. Each incarnation soul chooses certain personalities and bodies to experience that conscious expansion. And when one personality heals or strengthens up the part that they are meant to, so say you strengthen up the fear, the shame, or you release this old limiting belief and you move past the fear and the shame and you transform it back into love, you are also transforming that in all different lifetimes of who you are. So this is as far as I have understood it to this point is, there are 12 dimensions that we know of. I'm going to look more into that actually and maybe link up a little bit more information on that because I haven't dove too much into that. But so say there's 12 versions. I know there's many more. Let's just say for shits and giggles, there's 12 versions of us and simultaneously experiencing life at the same time. So when I think of like past, present, future, and I think of, past life regression or what's happening in the future or whatever it is, in our next incarnation, all of that is happening right now in this very moment. So when we look at past life regressions, if we look at past lives, those are just, and this is just something that resonates with me. So you take what resonates with you, and it's something to really dive into and listen to your heart on. But to me, it's us just diving into different dimensions or different aspects of who we are. Like there's no such thing as time. It's just man-made. So when we talk about healing, and if we're just talking about this experience while you're watching this video, if you are healing these different parts of you and you're healing this shame and you're healing this fear, you are also releasing those chains and those shackles from all other 11 experiences of who you are, of those personalities and those bodies and those experiences. You are healing that in everyone. So when we talk about like the generational curses or the generational, when we're moving through, sorry, Beatrice wants more food. Moving through the generational healing, like you are healing such a multi-layered, conscious, divinely conscious part of us. I mean, that is what we are. That the power that you hold for you just putting in the work and committing to who you are today can change all the lines of time. Like wrap your brain around that. That's how much power you hold in your heart. That's how powerful your heart is. That's how powerful you are. That by you just consciously showing up for yourself in this multi-sensory human versus the 5 sensory, and one is not better or less than. We all are, our consciousness arises in the right time. Like that, the 5 sensory human experience is needed because that created the multi-sensory. Like if I didn't have my 5 sensory experience, I would not have the wisdom and the awareness that I have now. So there's nothing but gratitude and appreciation for that. But if you look at just the amount of power that you hold within you to change life and expand consciousness through infinity by you just being you. It's just you being. That's it. Being conscious of what triggers you and loving that part of you a little bit more. Even when it's so difficult, it literally changes consciousness. It changes and expands God. I mean, that's no big deal. No, it's just a Wednesday afternoon, no big deal. When the personality and body have reached fulfillment of these lessons, it is released by the soul to return back to full compassion, love, etc. The soul reincarnation, the cycles. So basically, when we pass on from this experience, we return back to that wholesome area, which is probably why it feels so, when you go up into the 5D and beyond, it's so full of unconditional love and even emotions that our human experience cannot describe. It's probably why it feels so full, because it's like the full part of all that is, and we are just a sliver of it. And think of how much love we can feel here. So imagine that times like infinity, which is literally what it is. The soul chooses to incarnate in this version to learn through human experience to heal this splintered part of the soul to become more whole. So when we talk about healing, we talk about moving through these triggers and discovering the ego and understanding the ego and loving it and growing and evolving. That's what this is. That's that incarnation process. Combination of your vibration of your name, the vibrational aspect of your relationships, and the planets at the time of incarnation. So horoscope, I didn't even realize that. So the vibration of your name, your horoscope, when you decided to incarnate, the vibrational aspect of energy, environment, as well as the splintered aspects of your soul that are ready to heal with physical matter is brought into wholeness. So it's like all these different parts of you create you and create this experience that brings you the opportunities that you need to expand consciousness. That's so powerful, you guys. And that's just in like part 1. That's so powerful. It's incredible. Okay, the law of karma is not moral dynamic. It's to keep order in this dimension. It's cause and its effect. And this is where I loved this, because I remember learning this with my mentor, where I think we get, that whole taboo of like, it's karma, bad karma. I don't believe that at all. I think karma is like, I think the word is it instantaneous? It's like whatever energy you're putting out, you're going to get it back. It's the cause and the effect of it. So it's like the universe is neutral. So I can't like, how can I say that? Whatever I'm putting out, I'm getting back. So when we're conscious of what we're putting out, we are going to get that effect back. I don't think that it's like bad things happen to good people. I don't necessarily believe that. And I don't think like good things happen to bad people. I think that it's cause and it's effect and it's duality. And I think that it is the power of your mind and your energy, that which you are putting out, you are receiving what is being reflected back to you. That's what karma feels like to me. And that's what keeps balance and order in this universe, in this dimension. If we take place within the cause of something, it is physically impossible for us to not experience the effect of it. How that effect comes into play and into our awareness is different for everything, but it's literally impossible for it not to. The soul must experience the effect of the cause and can experience that in other lifetimes. So I think that's where like the karmic, like when it carries over into other lifetimes, that's what that means to me. Where like maybe we don't get that effect right away back, right? Like maybe it's not a boomerang. Maybe that boomerang takes like 3 lifetimes, and then we are healing that karmic debt. We are healing that karmic reaction, that effect from something that we did in this lifetime. And now another part of us is now experiencing that effect back. Just like same with this lifetime, we could be healing something that a previous part of us did that we are healing. And that makes me think of what was I just saying? It was, good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people, like that. Maybe that's just the universe ironing out the cause and effect. And maybe it's carrying over through lifetimes. And maybe that it's being sorted out, and maybe it doesn't make sense here right away, but it always will. And always, like I'm seeing like a neutral, like when we return back, like it all evens out. The energy imbalances of the soul are the incomplete parts of the soul that form the personality. Every experience or interaction with another is an opportunity to learn and heal the personality and heal the soul. So again, we say this all the time. We know that every opportunity that comes into play, and every person that comes into play is there to teach us. It's reflecting to us something within us that it is teaching us, and it is reflecting something within us that is ready to be healed and seen. So if and when and while you guys grow, the biggest indicator and the easiest way to see where that is happening is to look at who you're around and who is around you and what it's reflecting to you. The goal is to look past the experience of the personality and allow your soul to step forward to understand from a soul level. So it's like using judgment. It's not using judgment. Hang on, I wrote it further down here. Because he talks about reverence. And he's saying it's a natural expression of the soul, a deeper understanding of the experience. Thank you. So when we talk about, our goal is to look past the experience of the personality, so past the 5D part of it. I'm sorry, the 5 sensory part of it, right? Like, this person hurt me. And it's to look deeper into, how is this helping me heal my soul? What is this adding to my expansion? Like, what is the deeper reasoning for this? And it's looking at it from a neutral standpoint. It's looking at it from a non-judgmental standpoint, because you're understanding that even if that person hurt you, right? That's our perception. There's a lesson and a gift that is offering to you. So then it's our job, it's our self-expression to dig in and understand what that is bringing up in us. And to me, that is what our spiritual journey is. That's what our healing is. That's what our strengthening is doing that over and over and over and over and over again. And having fun in there too, you know? Non-judgmental justice. You see everything in life, but you know not to participate in the negative emotions. And, you know, we're still human, okay? So, like, it creeps in. So, like, of course, I still judge people. I try to bring my awareness around it when I catch myself, and I send love, and I understand why I judge them, right? The only reason I'm judging someone else is because I'm judging myself in that same space. So if I'm judging someone for talking too much, it's because there's an insecurity, there's a part within my soul that somewhere along the way there was a story told that if I talk too much, that it's a bad thing, or whatever that belief system is, right? Maybe I couldn't talk too much and now I'm afraid to talk too much, or maybe someone said something, whatever it was. So whenever I catch myself judging someone else, then I'm like, well, if I'm judging them, then I'm judging myself in that same way. So what am I judging within myself? Again, it's an opportunity to see deeper, okay? Yeah, this is the cycle of life. Incarnation, balancing karma, incarnation, balancing karma, healing all parts of the soul to evolve. It's literally all we're doing, confronting ourselves over and over and over again to be the clearest form of divine consciousness. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm good with that part. Let's go to the light. Because that was, reverence. I had a heart part. I'll have to look at my notes. Okay. So I loved this part of it. So in this part, there was a whole other part on intuition that I need to find. It's on a sheet of paper. I don't know where I put it. So I'll make a mental note and I will share that within the next video. So I'll go into intuition in the next video because I had some really beautiful stuff written down. I don't know where I put it. So yeah, it was the heart and intuition. So let's go to the light. I love this because, yeah, like even right here, it's like, the soul is not physical, yet it is the force field of your being. The higher self is not physical, yet it is the living template of the evolved human, the fully awakened personality. The experience of intuition cannot be explained in terms of the 5 senses. And that's where you really, like, you know, if you talk to someone who's very logical and very left brain, if you talk about like, well, what is your emotion saying? Like, what is your gut telling you? It's foreign. Because if you're not tuned into that part of you, it's like to use that and flex that muscle. Like we talk about this all the time, you guys. It's flexing a muscle and you build it up over time and, you know, of remembering and strengthening. And the closer and the more that we do this and the more confrontation we have with ourselves and the more we look and dig and heal, the closer we get to that. And it's so interesting because when I teach that course, Developing Your Intuition, that's all I'm trying to help people do is dig through the what we cover up with, because we take these 5 sensory limitations and measurements and we take that on as who we are, and we forget that we are meant to heal through that, we are meant to learn through that, but we're not meant to live in that. We're meant to live in here. But using the 5 senses, the 5 sensory human part of us, to experience that in here. It's just consciously experiencing that in there. So when we talk about intuition, it's like we have to dive into how we're measuring ourselves. Are we measuring ourselves on how much money we make? Are we measuring ourselves on how successful we are in our careers, or how many friends we have, or whatever? And none of this is wrong, you guys. But when you bring the conscious awareness around why we feel like we need to measure our success by how successful we are in our job, or by having how many friends, dig into what that brings up in you. Why do you feel like you need all of these friends? Is it fear of loneliness? Is it fear of not being worthy enough? Is it fear of not being smart enough? And then you dig deeper into that. This is where that multisensory comes in, because when you dig more into that, you discover something in you that is ready to be strengthened and healed and transformed. That is how you get closer to your intuition. That is how you get closer to your soul. That is how you return back to. That is how you heal karmic debt. That is how you fulfill the incarnation. That's how you heal these splintered parts of our personality, of our soul, all these things. That's all we're doing, okay? So the soul, the multisensory being, seeks to know their soul. So it's us returning back to our divineness. I love this part. The loving thoughts of another, people can feel that consciously. And it might not be like totally within their awareness in the front. Like, I think he brought up like the story of a father and daughter. And it was like the daughter, you know, thinking loving thoughts of her father, of adoration and all of this kindness, and him physically, frequency wise, like feeling that love. Maybe it's not fully conscious, but maybe then like in his mind, he's like, oh, I should call my daughter, or, oh, I should see how she is, or whatever it is. But that's how connected we are. Like, that is how powerful our frequency is, our heart is. That is how powerful our thoughts are. That is how we manifest. That's how we create. So if we are thinking these beautiful, loving thoughts for ourselves, but for other people, imagine that loving, warm, safe space that you are creating for personalities to express themselves and divine consciousness to express itself. It's beautiful. We are a system of light. We shift our frequency. We shift our light through consciousness, through conscious love versus fear. So this is what was interesting. When I was, a message that came to me was, we exist on all frequencies. So, for example, because there's many more frequencies than just this, but let's just think about the Abraham Hicks scale. And we have like the fear, the shame, the guilt, you know, it goes all the way up from the lowest vibration all the way to the top, which is, I think, like joy and happiness and unconditional love. Parts of us, our energy exists no matter what simultaneously on all of these frequencies. So when we talk about manifesting, or if we talk about growing or whatever it is, all we're doing is we're fine-tuning our frequency to bring us to that where we are. So say we're trying to manifest money, and money lives on the frequency of happiness, but say we're feeling joy and we want to feel happy. When we look at these parts of ourselves, say then we're with a friend and something happens and we realize we were triggered by something and we were like, oh my God, well, why do I feel unhappy? Or why do I, like, what is it that's blocking me from feeling okay with feeling happy? And say we look at the story and we're like, oh my God, that's how I've been holding myself back. I never felt worthy of feeling happy. Maybe I was ridiculed in the past for being too happy, okay? So we unwind that story, we unwind that limiting belief, that ego, and now we're fine-tuning our vibration up to happiness. Well, if that's where money is, if that's where that frequency is, now we're attuning ourselves to money. We're opening ourselves up to receiving money. We're opening ourselves up to wealth and abundance and prosperity. So when we talk about us being a system of light and that we're frequency, all we're doing is shifting that. We're shifting it from the fear and the shame and the unconscious to the consciousness of it. The more conscious we are and the more aware we are, the more we can fine tune to where we want to be, to where our soul wants to be, to where our soul is. So it's just us remembering parts of us, ourselves. We already have it inside of us. We already know how to feel happy. We already know how to feel love. That's our birthright. That's who we are. So simple, right? Emotions are the currents of energy with different frequencies. So choosing thoughts and choosing which emotional currents you reinforce choosing thoughts and choosing which emotional currents you are reinforcing. So when we keep feeling happiness, we're strengthening up the happiness. If we keep feeling shameful, we're strengthening up the shameful, right? There's neutrality. Everything is neutral. There's no, if we're feeling unworthy, the universe will keep reflecting to us unworthiness, okay? So when we keep reinforcing this is the impact that we have on other people. So, if you notice, think of like your best friend, or think of like when someone you admire walks into a room and you're like, God, they just feel so great. Like they're just so peaceful and so calm. And it's like, that's the emotional current that they are embodying. That's what they're strengthening. That's what they're bringing to other people. So be conscious of like where you're at right now, what you're bringing into other people, and notice the power that has. Okay. I have a note to look on page 96. So I'm looking. Okay. So bear with me because I'm going to read this and then I'm going to keep going. Energies that emanate from your soul have instantaneousness to them. Energies that emanate from your personality follow the path of physical light. Fear, for example, is an experience of the personality. Fear, for example, is an experience of the personality. The soul can be confused and away from the light, but it does not experience fear. So there can be a separation in there, right? A separation from the light, but the soul is not the part of us that is experiencing the fear. The personality is, because fear is an experience of the personality. If the soul experiences an absence of light from a part of itself, the personality will experience this absence of light as fear. That fear is of the personality and therefore of space and time. So when we talk about the 3D experience, which is this human part of us, that's the 3D. The 5D is up where spirit is. It's up where divine consciousness is. And part of the universal laws here and measurements, let's say, because this is physics, is time and it's space. That's how we measure it. And we have to have one to have the other. In order to perceive and experience space, right? The space between us, we have to have time to measure it. And in order to experience time, we have to have space to experience the time, to experience that measurement. Unconditional love is of the soul, instantaneous, universal, not bound. So what I was getting from this was, hold on, I wanted to read, because they're talking about the frequency. Okay. So the one part of this that stands out to me is, if the soul experiences an absence of light from a part of itself, the personality will experience this absence of light as fear. So what I initially get from that is like when we get out of touch of parts of ourselves, when we even, let's take it to like the human part of it, like, you know, when you are about to make a choice or a decision or take a leap of faith or whatever it is, there's all that uncertainty and fear can creep in easily because we don't know what is coming or we don't know what's there, right? There's that like space and time in there where we're like, well, we don't know what's going to happen. And there's the separation of faith and trust, and we get more into that human part of it where we're like, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? That's what that reminds me of. We perceive it as fear because it's that fight or flight. It's like we have to protect ourselves. We have to know certain things in order to feel secure. But I love the aspect of that the soul is not what is experiencing the fear. It's the personality, the perception of the personality, the perception of the experience. And if we shift the perspective, the perception of it, that's where we can realign back with the love. That's where we can realign back with the trust and the faith and the certainty that no matter what, our divineness and God will catch us and will bring us to right to where we need to be. Okay? Yeah, and then part of it was our species is evolving from the 5 sensory to the multi-sensory. So I wanted to add that in because if we talk about 2020 and 2021, that's what I think is happening. We're reawakening to this deeper, more insightful, authentic part of us over just the 5D, okay? I had a note to look at 98. Okay, I'm gonna read this again and kind of do the same thing. So, yeah. Our non-physical assistance comes from ranges of non-physical light that are higher in frequency than our own. So when we talk about our intuition or connecting with angels and guides, it's coming from a higher frequency than where we're physically at right now. So when I talk to like my psychic mediums or, you know, when I teach class about intuition, like we're raising our vibration up to meet them. They're lowering theirs to meet us in the middle. And that's where we connect with psychic mediumship. That's what this means to me. The intelligences that assist and guide us unconsciously in the case of the 5 sensory and consciously in the case of the multisensory are of a higher rank in creation than we, and therefore can provide us with a quality of guidance and assistance that we cannot give to each other. So this is where I think part of that like divine guidance really comes in. I mean, think of it this way. If you guys ever enter into a meditation, or if you're in a class, or if you're listening to someone channel, or if you're, you know, whatever it may be, where it's that higher consciousness, you can hear the difference in language, in how it is not only said and given and spoken, but you can feel that difference in like love that comes from like an angel message, or from an angel message, or from, sorry guys, my phone. You can feel the difference in frequency when it comes from divine conscious guidance versus just us giving to each other. Now, again, one is not better or less than the other. This interaction, one, I think this is how we integrate, this is how we grow, because if we're receiving guidance, then our job is to share that wisdom and knowledge with others so that we can then take what we need and then share that with others, and they take what they need and share that with others. That's how we continuously expand, you know, out and out and out and up and up and up. So, but I think that sometimes when we do need certain answers or certain guidance, that lifting that vibration up, entering into a meditative state, connecting with guardian angels, connecting with our guides, even if we can't see them or feel them or hear them, like we are, right? Even if we can't fully pick up on it, like we're receiving guidance no matter what. Part of what I did read, part of this in the book is probably in the part of the intuition. Oh, that's why I know I couldn't find it. The paper is in my bag. That's why. When we are asking for divine guidance and for help, and we ask a question, it is always given to us in response. So if we are asking for an answer or for them to help us make a choice or make a decision, granted, angels and guides can never step in and make that decision for us, but they can guide us to making that decision within ourselves. And they can give us answers that will help us take, say, the path of least resistance. So maybe it could be the easiest path or the path that is most direct. Doesn't mean that it's going to be super easy, but when we ask for guidance, it is always given. The important part is to tune in our awareness around it and open our hearts to receive it. And when we do that, we always are open to the divine guidance that is available at our fingertips every single second of the day, every single moment, every day, every year, every month, everything. It's always there no matter what. Something I always do too is I thank my guides morning and evening. So when I wake up in the morning, I thank everyone. And when I go to bed, I thank everyone for the day, because throughout the day, how many times do you lean into your intuition or lean into asking a question for guidance and you're receiving what you need? You feel the stability, you feel the calmness, something comes in clear and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to make that decision. That feels right. Like that is our intuition. That is our divine guidance. So I think sometimes when we talk about like raising the vibration up, really tuning in and connecting with that is obviously super beneficial, because it's giving us a perspective and an aspect that maybe we can't receive through just dialogue with another human experience. Okay? Hope that makes sense. Yeah. So he talks about the vertical path versus the horizontal path. So the vertical path is the path of awareness, consciousness, and conscious choice. This person chooses to advance spiritually, growth, and clarity. So this makes me think of multi-sensory, multi-dimensional human experience. With the horizontal path, we have just satisfying the personality. So this makes me think of someone who just like wants money to want money because it makes them think that they feel whole and whatever it is. And guys, I've been that person, so I'm not knocking it at all, because it humbled me beyond belief when I was going through a divorce and I had no money. So it really taught me it taught me self-worth. So not knocking this at all. This is just part of that pathway, right? Like I was on the horizontal path. Now I'm trying to be more on that vertical path. But with the horizontal path, it just wants to satisfy the personality. So it says, it makes money to please the personality, right? It's pleasing the personality into thinking that it's worthy enough, but we know that the worthy enough is already in the heart. It's not anything external. And each new experience isn't really new. It's just reaffirming the same thing. So think about the ego. When we are in the same time loop and the same experience loop of unfulfillment, that's what that signals to me. It's like, maybe it looks different, maybe it's on a different scale, maybe it's first it started in your relationships, then it moved into like your company and your company relationships, and then so maybe it's like one person and you repeated this lesson and it wasn't learned, so then now it's a bigger lesson and a bigger one. And it's not until it like totally knocks us in our head where we're like, why am I not understanding why this keeps repeating? Why am I still unfulfilled? That's what that feels like to me. And I was there. And there's still parts of me that are there that I'm still learning. So parts of me are still on the horizontal and I'm trying to get it on the vertical. Learning still occurs in all situations. Each soul will find authentic power no matter what. Vertical path will begin when we consciously decide to want to take that pathway. So that's where that conscious choice comes in, where we're like, yeah, we want to dig into like, how can we do this to create that strong foundation? And no matter what I think that each soul, even if it's not this lifetime, I think no matter what in other lifetimes, that no matter what, our whole experience is looping around to bring us back to our authentic power. And I think no matter what, we find that. Sometimes it's just a really roundabout way, and sometimes it takes many lifetimes to get there. No right or wrong. Guides and teachers assist us in every phase of evolution. The bigger the soul's journey, the more guides they have. Our soul knows them. We choose them before we incarnate. When incarnation comes to an end, those parts of our soul that used those guides are reunited with those guides. I actually thought this was a really cool concept. So it was like, when I think about the way that Spirit explains it to me is we have like our guardian angel. Let's say we have like the archangels and ascended masters. Some of us have those on our team. Some of us don't. Then we have our guardian angel. Then we have our spirit guides. And with each spirit guide, we have like this spirit guide watches out for my relationships and how I heal that. Another guide is helping me on my career path and helps me express that authentically. And another guide helps me on my human experience with my physical body, and they help me on that, and so on and so forth. And the guardian angel kind of looks over everything. So the way that this came to me was like those parts of our personality that we're healing in those areas of our life, when we go back to that wholeness, those parts of us like reunite with those angels and those guides. And it's like this beautiful, I think of it as like a welcoming home, you know, like they were there to guide us when we needed them to help us heal those splintered parts of our soul, which is just really beautiful. Yeah, we receive guidance every moment of every day. We're always encouraged to move towards the light, never away from it. Yeah, when we use our guides, so when we ask for help, we're opening up doors. They help us to see which door would be most beneficial for our soul's growth. And through those areas that we heal, they will show us like the outcome of it. So like say the door's open and we're like, okay, we have 3 opportunities here. Which one is going to help us heal the most within us? We choose that one. And this is where our free will steps in. So say we ask our guides for guidance, they open up 3 doors, they show us the emotional tie to each door, and say we start to feel that pull towards making this choice, and we're like, that one feels really powerful, that one feels really significant, right? We're tapping into our intuition, our higher self. We're allowing that soul to step forward, that intuition, that multisensory to lead us to where we need to go. And through that, through a combination of the free will of the human experience, a combination of our higher self and our soul stepping forward to lead with our personality and with our guides, that is how we consciously move through the life lessons. Like I said before, they cannot step in and make any decisions for us. That is the part of the human experience. So that's where I always tune in and I'm like, what is the best route? Like what feels the most wholesome to me? Let's go that route. But I do always ask for guidance, but I know ultimately I'm the one with the power to make that choice that is best for my soul's evolution. I think that's so beautiful. Our teachers and our guides cannot create or remove karma. That's why we're here. That's what happens with the human experience. Each decision brings us closer to our soul or closer to our personality. So maybe a question to pose to you when making decisions is like, is this bringing me closer to my heart and my soul, or is this bringing me further away? And sometimes I have to really check in with that and really discuss and decide and sit with that for a minute to really see like, is this really authentically me, or am I doing this just for an ego want? Am I just doing this for money, or is this like a heartfelt experience? Yeah, some of the questions they ask: how do you choose to learn love? How do you choose to learn authentic empowerment? And how do you wish to learn? And that was free will. So free will is how we learn. Yeah, and then part of this was in the Adam and Eve, which I actually think I might wait and share in the choice part. Yeah. maybe I'll just bring it up now. So he goes into like the Adam and Eve story and how it's basically, let's just say like a representation of duality, a representation of choosing love versus choosing fear. And because of that situation, what he says is it's beginning of whole experience of Earth and human species. It refers to energy that helped create the polarities of the human experience. So when we talk about the universal laws and the polarity and the duality, he's saying that it stemmed from the Adam and Eve, the beginning from feeling doubt and fear versus trusting and the light. And that came into our being. And then you add in free will, and that is how we overcome and learn and heal, really, is the duality of things. Like, we wouldn't know what fear is if we've never felt happiness and joy and success. And we wouldn't know what cold is if we never experienced hot. So we have to have the duality, the contrast. I always say contrast offers up so much clarity. Like, if you're looking for clarity in your life, look for the contrast. Do something that would bring contrast into it, because you will feel it right away. It represents choice to learn through wisdom or doubt and fear, which is, oh yeah, this was fascinating. So that Adam and Eve, it represents choice, free will, to learn through wisdom or through doubt and fear, which is in every part of our human experience, every second of every single day. That is how we evolve as group consciousness, is relationship between choice, the light, and physical reality. And I feel like I'm going to connect that to mind, body, spirit, but I'm going to do that in the next video. I'm just going to repeat that one more time. It represents choice, free will, to learn through wisdom or through doubt and fear, which is in every part of our human experience, every single day, every second. This is how we evolve as group consciousness, the relationship between choice, light, and physical reality. That is how we evolve. That's the combination. And how much you want to bet that's mind, body, spirit. Yeah, because physical reality is body, light is our soul, and choice would be our mind because it's free will. How about them apples, you guys? Physical reality, our bodies, we learn through our bodies. Our light is our soul, we learn through our soul. And choice is our mindset, it's our mind, body, spirit. Those three is how we evolve as divine consciousness. And that, my friend, is only half of the book, as I just talked for an hour. All right, guys, thank you for bearing with me. I will follow up with the rest of this when I can. I'm sending love and light. Thank you for being here. I am grateful for you, and I am humble. Thank you.